we get to choose how we are labeled. One of the things about being neurodiverse is you get to decide how you would like to have people engage in and communicate about your neurodiversity. Do you want it to be specifically labeled out by its traits? Meaning you really focus on dyslexia, you really focus on ADHD, you focus on autism. Beautiful. Or do you just want to possibly be labeled or utilize the terms neurodiversity and helping people understand that? The reason I bring that up this week is because I had the privilege and opportunity of talking with one of my clients this week. And it's interesting because he'd hired me as an executive coach, specifically not for my neurodiversity background or skills, but he was a high creative and a high visual. And so he recognized I could be very useful for helping him, and I have been. But this week, his child received the results of a test, lots of testing that they did to find out if he was possibly struggling in school for a reason. And it turns out that his 10-year-old son was, because as they figured out, his 10-year-old son is a different thinker. It was really interesting. He reported back to me, and what he was reporting back to me was all about how his child has learning disabilities, and his child is not able to do this, and he can't do that. And it was a good, solid half-hour conversation of all of the ways his child can't do things. And he consistently utilized the terms learning disability. He has a learning disability, as this kind of learning disability and that kind of learning disability. I will also note that the person that did the testing gave them very good feedback and encouraged them to do a lot of things to help their son grow and expand as a person. He also obviously was probably struggling with, and they reported some anxiety to go with his learning disabilities. And so it reminded me that while my client did not identify as neurodiverse, all of a sudden he was needing to understand his son and the information and how they had labeled his son. Those processing systems are created in an environment that is exclusive, meaning it's excluding you from the norm and excluding you from that. And it identifies young people in particular as learning disabled. And we had a really good conversation about the fact that he's going to struggle in school potentially, and he's just a different thinker. He is just a spotted zebra in a striped zebra world, and he has amazing gifts. And as soon as we started talking about his strengths, his son's strengths, my client just lit up, and he's like, oh, he's so good at this and so good at that. And he's so artistic, and he just puts these things together. He's like this old soul in a little body, and he loves talking to people. And I told him one of the most important things he can do is, as he talks to his son and as his wife talks to his son, they need to use language that talks about just being different and less about being disabled, and about his gifts and focusing on those gifts and highlighting and giving him tasks and so forth that focus on his gifts, so that he does not have to spend every day focused on the different ways that he learns that are not considered norm in the school system. So that relates to us as adults also, because potentially you received a report at some time that said you have a learning disability. And according to that system, yes, you do have a disability to their system, but after you left their school system, you don't have a learning disability. You have a different way of thinking, and you have a different way of processing. And it's how it ables you in other directions and does make you different and does make it challenging at times. But you as an adult get to decide how that label is applied and what label it is that you're wanting people to use when they talk to you. So think about that. Think about what terms you maybe need to upgrade and how you might want to talk about and communicate your neurodiversity. I'm JoyGenea, International Neurodiversity Coach, really challenging you to recognize your different thinking and understand how it's changing the world and how it brings great gifts to the people around you. Thank you, and have an awesome day.